about staying healthy abroad. Okay, so welcome everyone again. This is AIFS Abroad. We're talking about staying healthy abroad with some of our lovely alumni ambassadors today. I'd love to have all of our alumni introduce yourselves. I'm gonna just go through the order that I see you on my screen. So Haley, you're up first. Go ahead and share your name, home university, and where you studied abroad.
Hi everybody, my name is Haley Martinez. I'm a senior at Washington State University and I studied abroad in Barcelona, Spain in spring 2020.
Perfect, thank you. Kimani, you're up next.
Hello everyone, my name is 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦. I'm currently a senior at Rowan University and I studied abroad in Granada, Spain in my fall semester of 2019.
Thank you. Alexis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexis 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦, and I am a senior at the Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, and I studied abroad in London during the fall 2019 semester.
Thank you. Sadie?
Hi there, I'm Sadie. I am a senior at Champlain College, which is in Burlington, Vermont, and I studied abroad in the fall of 2019 in Berlin, Germany, which you can see back there.
Great, thank you. Emma?
Hello, I'm Emma Crowder. I'm a senior at the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, and I studied abroad in Cannes, France for the entire academic year from the fall 2019 semester to the spring 2020 semester.
Thank you. Patrick?
Hi everyone, I'm Patrick 𝗟𝗧'𝗦. I'm a senior at Curry College right outside of Boston, and I studied abroad in Florence, Italy during spring 2020.
Great, thank you. And Morgan?
Hey guys, I'm Morgan Tracy. I'm a senior at Miami University in Ohio, and I studied abroad in the spring of 2020 in London, England.
Great, thank you all so much. So we are going to go through just a few brief AIFS program details before we dive into the discussion with our alumni around staying healthy abroad. So just a brief overview on AIFS Abroad. We've been around since 1964, so we're a very long-standing study abroad and international exchange organization. We offer programs in 35 different cities around the world in program lengths anywhere from 2 weeks during our January term or the summer to a full academic year abroad. I know at least one of our panelists spent a full year abroad, so that's certainly an option for students. We offer multi-country traveling programs during the summer, so you can attend more than one location and take your coursework throughout different destinations if that's something that you're interested in. Generally, our programs have no language requirements. Outside of language coursework, most electives are generally taught in English. So if you are looking to study in a destination where English is not the native language, not a problem at all. We can certainly find courses for you. We do work with all majors. We have a wide variety of course options available across our programs and destinations and can help you figure out how courses may transfer back to your home university. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. Our programs are available from graduated high school seniors all the way through seniors following their graduation in some cases. So we do offer a wide range of programming for all of those groups. All of our fees are guaranteed in US dollars. You don't need to worry about currency exchange when looking at our program fees online. And with that, we try to make our program fees as all-inclusive as possible. So housing is always guaranteed and arranged by AIFS. Typically, this would be a homestay with a local family or apartment-style housing or residence hall-style housing near the local campus. We do include a meal plan or stipend on all of our programs. So this may look a little bit different depending on the program and the housing option that you choose. So you may have a meal plan in the dining halls, vouchers to local restaurants and grocery stores, or meals with your host family. All of our programs do have a resident director and on-site staff, AIFS staff on-site. So this is really great, especially as we think about staying healthy abroad. They're a fantastic resource. Not only to host the orientation and help you throughout the program, but also in case of any emergency, if you do experience a health emergency, for example, abroad, they are a great resource to support you in those instances. All of our programs do include excursions that take you beyond the city and sometimes the country where you're studying. These are outlined on our website for each location, but generally 2 excursions are included in each program, and students can add on additional options if you'd like to. Additionally, we offer weekly cultural activities. So these are more local to your program location. They may include cooking classes, museum tours, outdoor activities, depending, as you can imagine, on the location. And all of our programs do include comprehensive health and travel insurance. Again, as we're thinking about staying healthy abroad, this allows students not only to take care of any health matters in case of emergency, but proactively plan to stay healthy abroad. And we'll talk more about that later on. We have an optional flight and transportation package that allows students to book their international round trip flight through AIFS if you're interested. And we do offer an extensive alumni program. So we're joined today by our alumni ambassadors who are all AIFS program alumni and who are working with both AIFS and their home universities to help promote study abroad this academic year. So a few tips before we get started more deeply into this topic. We recommend discussing any health concerns, any concerns that you have related to your health abroad, not only with your healthcare provider, but also with your study abroad provider and potentially your study abroad advisor at your home institution within the planning process. I would say there's no question too small or too large related to health abroad. It can be in regards to ongoing care that you receive, whether physical or mental health, a medication that you take regularly, and verifying that it's permitted in your host country. Anything at all, we're more than happy to assist you throughout the process. As part of the application process with AIFS, if you decide to apply for one of your programs, your admissions officer will collect some preliminary health information from you and can help advise you on any of these questions directly related to your program location. Again, your home university may have a similar process in place and can be a great place to start with any questions that you may have. Our best advice is to make a plan as proactively as you can to maintain both your physical and mental health abroad. Again, we hope this is an important part of your planning process, and we're happy to help with any questions throughout. And of course, if we're talking about health related to study abroad, there are many questions regarding COVID-19 and how it impacts study abroad. You can keep yourself up to date on AIFS and our program updates related to COVID by following this link. We're updating that constantly based on current changes, and we're assessing each program location based on a variety of factors, entry requirements, COVID rates, vaccination requirements, et cetera, to be able to run the safest possible programming for our students for this spring semester and beyond. So one last thing before we get started with the discussion, we do have a variety of resources, our lovely alumni ambassadors who are joining us today. You can find ambassadors from your particular location of interest if you have location-specific questions. We have this ongoing student webinar series, some really great posts on our AIFS blog about staying healthy abroad that I'd recommend that you check out. And of course, our student resources and FAQ database online has a lot of great fact sheets and information as well about staying healthy abroad. So with that, I'm going to open this up to more of a discussion. And my first question for our alumni, thank you, Ange, for posting those in the chat, is what steps did you take pre-departure to ensure your health abroad?
Sure. I mean, to start us out,
Sure.
like what Katie was saying, definitely talk to your study abroad advisor and to your doctor. I personally have asthma, so I needed to fill a couple prescriptions of like inhalers and stuff before I went, and just made sure I had a full dose of all the things that I needed. So I called my pediatrician, still go to her, even though I'm old. And it was easy enough to do it that way. Yeah, just make sure that you're stocked up on anything that you might need. And I brought with me some like ibuprofen just in case like they didn't have that in Europe. That's what I did to prepare. And I just made sure I printed out the prescription and brought it with me. So if I got any questions about the meds I was carrying, I would have the paperwork all set.
That's great advice, Sadie. Thank you. Yes, oftentimes your doctor will be able to fulfill a prescription several months in advance, so you're able to bring that with you. And that's a great point, to always bring your prescription in the original packaging and with labels. In some cases, you'll want to verify that your prescription is permitted abroad. So again, all of these are great questions for your physician, for your study abroad advisor, before you depart. Anybody else like to add to any steps that you took to prepare? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next question. What resources did you use to remain healthy abroad?
I can start this question. So something that's really helpful and that I really enjoyed about the AIFS program in Barcelona is the amazing on-site staff that you have available to you, and really utilizing their help is so important, because especially if you don't speak the language very well, it might be kind of hard if you have to go to a pharmacy and you want to get some type of prescription. So it's really nice to have them, and they can even go with you to places if you're not feeling comfortable. So that's something that I definitely utilized. And then moving more toward like mental health abroad, something that I really liked doing was journaling, and I thought that was a great way to stay healthy, and even to just go to a park by myself in between classes and to write down in my journal, and also just to have those memories. That was something that I really enjoyed doing.
That's a great point, Haley. Just making time for self-care when you're studying abroad can be difficult to carve out the time, but important to prioritize. So thank you for bringing that up. Would anybody else like to add to that question? Any resources that you use to remain healthy abroad?
I can add on to that. So similar to Haley, in London, the AIFS staff was very helpful with if you needed to go to a doctor or anything, but they also provided us with a list of different places, gyms near us at other universities that we were able to sign up for, which was really helpful, especially being there in the colder months when you maybe didn't want to be outside as much to exercise. They were able to give us like super affordable options if you wanted to exercise while you're abroad.
Great, thank you. Yes, I know many of our students take advantage of local gym memberships at our various locations around the world, so thank you. Did any of you, along those lines, did any of you get involved with any clubs or student organizations to stay healthy while abroad?
I didn't, but I did. I took an alternative route to staying healthy.
Sure.
I actually rented a bike from this app called 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦. It's like an offer up or a let go. And yeah, that was a really cool experience. And it completely changed the way I viewed Granada, and just like, navigating through a city as well as staying healthy at the same time. So yeah, I definitely do recommend that for future students who do plan on going abroad and, trying to stay physically fit within certain restraints.
That's great. You solved the transportation and staying healthy issue. Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Any clubs or student organizations that you're able to join abroad?
That is a really good point about the bikes, Kimani. I also rented a bike through an app called 𝗟𝗧𝗧'𝗦, but it might be gone now. Those apps, they're changing all the time. But in regards to the clubs, I did find a ballet studio in Berlin that I really liked that did adult classes. So I went and really just went out of my comfort zone and joined a German ballet class, and it was really great. And there was a ton of student discounts everywhere, and like you could find a gym or like a dance class or whatever and just ask for a student discount, and it makes it really affordable. And I'm really, really glad I did that, and it like kind of made me feel more part of the community there, and stay really healthy, because it was a very challenging class.
That's great, Sadie. Yes, I was thinking as you were mentioning that, that's a great way to immerse yourself even further into the culture and practice your language, I'm sure, learning ballet terms and German. That's no small feat. And Kimani, I know that many cities have sort of those rent as you go bike apps. That could be a great option for students too, if you're looking for a shorter term solution abroad.
I also wanted to note real quick that some of our locations do have access to, just like at your home institution, may not be as extensive a gym as your home institution. But for example, Greece, we do have access to all the workout facilities, and my understanding is there's a very large pool that has been very popular with the students as well. So depending on your location, that may be an option.
That's a great point. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
Before we go on to the next topic with mine,
Sure.
being that it was like just a platform for people to let go of anything, that sort of stepped me out of my comfort zone into like interacting with a random stranger who wanted to sell a bike, but I couldn't buy the bike. So that brought into like negotiating in Spanish, my first couple of weeks there, where I was really frustrated and annoyed because I didn't understand the language that much. And, I didn't have much prior knowledge, but that was a huge like moment for me to step out of my comfort zone and like make that pivot towards wanting to know the language more and actually being able to communicate for the things that I want. So yeah, I think apps like that, or just even clubs or intercambios, work really well to get people immersed within the language and becoming more comfortable with whom they are and where they're at.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ǩmani. Thank you. I think, any point where you're pushing yourself outside of maybe the bubble of American students or international students and really immersing yourself, practicing the language more, all of that is so important. And thank you for bringing up the intercambios too. Language exchange programs are a great way to do that in a more formal way, but I'm glad that you were all able to find more informal ways to do that too throughout your time abroad. How would you all say the perception of health and wellness in your host country differed from the US? We hear this from our students a lot.
I can start this one off for sure.
Sure.
So I studied abroad in Cannes, France, and I think in France and really in Europe, like other students can attest to this, like the standard of living is like much more lax, and you see people really kind of taking the time to take care of themselves. Like for example, they have like stores aren't open for like 2 hours during the middle of the day because they're just like taking a break, and their break isn't just like a 30-minute quick lunch break. It's like a time to like go chill out, have a meal. Like, there's lots of smoke breaks in France, lots of coffee breaks, obviously. But I also like, you see things like people, lots of fresh food markets. So I noticed myself, like I was going to the market almost every day, just like pick up fresh veggies or fresh fruit all the time. And I like really got addicted to the fruit there because the fruit in France was really good. The food in France in general is just amazing, but that was really awesome. You see people like taking walks to get to places, like a lot of people like walk all the way to work, even if that's like 5 kilometers, or you see them biking. And so I think like you really start to see people taking care of themselves as well as, and then that kind of makes you want to like start doing these sort of things yourself too.
Yeah, going off of what Emma said, in Barcelona, people would walk everywhere. My friends and I just kind of got equipped to that. Like instead of taking the metro, even if it was a mile or a far walk away, we would just decide to walk and kind of look at the architecture. And it was just nice to have fresh air and to not be driving in cars everywhere like we do in America. So that was something that I really loved, and just being able to like easily walk everywhere. And that was just really nice.
And also, like Emma was saying, like fresh food was so like available over there. And I remember going when I was in Italy, we went to markets every night. Like it was never like if we were making dinner, it was never kind of like we didn't buy for the week, we bought for the night. And then another big thing was that like we didn't really see people working out as much. Like in America, like in a normal city, you see people like running and stuff. And we kind of learned the hard way that wasn't a thing when we almost got taken out by some mopeds a few times. So it was definitely kind of different. Like they go more to private gyms, which was like something we discovered while we were there.
Yes, running in Italy is definitely a bit less common. Yes, thank you all for sharing. I know many of these cities are predominantly more of a walking culture. I know many of you experienced that, and I'm glad that many of you were able to shop at more local markets. I know that many of our students are able to cook meals for themselves as a way to stay healthy and hopefully save money during your time abroad too. So thank you all for sharing your experiences. I'd love to hear from any of you who studied abroad during spring 2020. Switching gears a little bit here, how did your host country and the AIFS staff on your program manage the COVID-19 pandemic? I know you were all there at a very interesting time when this was all sort of coming to light, but I'd love to hear your feedback on being abroad during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that the on-site staff did a really good job about handling the COVID-19 pandemic when it first started, because at first we were all kind of under the impression that it wasn't going to be a big deal, but they were very transparent with us and transparent with our families, so they were always aware of what was going on. And even when things did get bad and we had to get sent home, they took care of changing my flight for me, and they arranged transportation from my apartment to the airport. So that was really nice to kind of have that stress lifted off of me, because I would not have known what to do if I didn't have AIFS helping me. And I think that my family felt a lot more comfortable knowing that they were assisting me through the whole process, and they weren't really worried for me once it all got really bad.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you felt supported. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I remember like even in the beginning stages of the pandemic, beginning of the semester, my friends and I were planning different trips, and from London we had planned a trip to Italy, and they were really helpful just talking us through whether we should go or not, because obviously you've already spent a lot of money and like you don't want to just lose all that money, but safety is also a priority and being able to get back into the country that you're staying in. So even just talking through things with us and kind of saying, okay, well, if you do go, like these are kind of the possibilities, and just kind of helping us, because obviously everyone was newly navigating a pandemic, the RDs as well as the students studying abroad. So it was just helpful to have someone else to talk to who maybe was a little bit more knowledgeable on like not just your own city, but kind of was keeping track of every city and kind of everywhere, and probably other AIFS like employees and such, which was really helpful.
Thank you.
Also, like my staff was able, like, because Italy got hit kind of early on with COVID, and so there was like no masks in all of Italy, and we're kind of trying to find them, and our staff was able to secure enough for everyone to get like masks to walk around the city with like pretty early on, and had like hand sanitizer and everything really early on. So that was really like comforting to feel like they were like looking out for our health while we were there.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that feedback. I know it was earlier in the pandemic, and so you know, a lot differs currently from situations at that time. But would any of you say that you noticed any major differences based on the location and how the location where you were studying handled COVID versus the US, or any major differences in that regard? Probably not. Face masks and hand sanitizer all around, I think.
I noticed that in France, like we give the bees, which is like, you know, you do the 2 kisses on the cheeks. And so there was like little signs everywhere that were like, no bees, like don't do it. And they were like really kind of saying, hey guys, like try to social distance as best as you could. And that was really early on, like right when we started first hearing things about Italy. So I thought that was pretty great. And my language school actually like started temperature checking us before we would come in. So that was something new, like felt revolutionary when it was happening. So
that's funny about the kisses. That's a funny anecdote for Europe, especially. Great. Thank you all for sharing those experiences. And just to note again, of course, all of this is changing quickly. So we're trying to stay as up to date as possible on all of these locations for future terms. So my next question would be, is there anything you wish you would have known before you went to your study abroad location related to staying healthy abroad?
Yeah, I can kind of open up this question. So I know a lot of us have already kind of talked about like staying like physically healthy and making sure like our bodies are strong, but I'm going to be the person to talk about your mental health, because mental health is such a crucial part, of course, of your health while you're at home at your home university. And it's also super important being abroad. And I think I didn't take the time to really think about how my mental health might be impacted studying abroad. While I was at home, I would say like younger student, me like freshman, I would easily get like anxiety attacks. just being in different situations. So I was nervous about that going abroad. But I think actually studying abroad, a lot of like the skills that I learned, becoming more independent and learning how to like collaborate with my peers and like figuring out how to like overcome language barriers and like just tackling all these problems actually gave me a lot of confidence. And I never once had a panic attack or an anxiety attack while I was abroad, which I was really thankful for. But I would also say, in terms of mental health too, I would say to be really like gentle on yourself if you do have like a bad mental health day while you're abroad. Because I think that's one of those things that a lot of students don't talk about, or like when you like Google study abroad, like you see all of these, of course, beautiful images of a country, but it's not really advertised that like, yeah, students still have problems, they have bad days, like they're gonna happen, and it's totally okay. I'm sure all of us could say, you know, being alumni, we had some bad days while we were abroad, and that's totally okay. So it's just learning how to like overcome them and how to like make them better. I can remember like one of my bad days was just because I literally had planned to see like so much of London in one day. Like I was going to like 3 different museums and I was walking everywhere and I was ultimately dehydrated. So that was like one of the like physical body things that I kind of forgot to do, which also like played into me like feeling really dizzy, and I was just like super overwhelmed. And of course, like looking at all these museums, I was like really overwhelmed trying to process all the information. So especially if you're staying in a location like long term, so like for a semester or longer, like I would really encourage you to like plan, days for you to just like relax, but also, plan those fun days where you're going to go out with your friends to a museum or to a new restaurant, whatever. But be sure to make sure you give yourself downtime, because I am definitely the person that likes to be like 100% go, go, go whenever I'm traveling a new area of the city, because I'm definitely the kind of person that's like, I want to like take it all in, because you're only abroad for like the time that you are abroad, and it feels like a long time, but it goes by so fast. But also to be like gentle with yourself and know that it's okay to have bad days while you're abroad.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point that Alexis brought up about kind of not spreading yourself too thin. Like you will want to do everything at first, but I think that it's good to have kind of a balance between that and knowing that you can stay in for a night, you can sleep in, and it's not going to ruin your entire experience. You will have time to do all the things that you want to, but you don't need to spread yourself out too thin that then you're so exhausted and tired and you can't do anything at all.
Very, very true. Thank you. Thank you both for acknowledging and bringing up the importance of mental health. I think that, studying abroad, in addition to what you all just shared, studying abroad can be a really challenging time. You don't have your typical support systems, your typical routines that you're used to. And so in addition to kind of the pressure to do it all in a short period of time and not miss anything, you're kind of stripped of some of those supports that you may rely on typically. So I think planning ahead for that and anticipating that as much as possible and allowing yourself time to rest really set yourself up for success.
I agree. Also, someone said it before, but journaling. I picked up a journal. Well, I have a journal that I brought with me, and my mom has always like promoted that within my life. And I never really listened or really cared enough to do it. But when I was out there in Granada, it was very useful for me. Like I would ride my bike to a mirador and just sit there by myself and contemplate life and write, or go somewhere and reflect and just talk to myself, which helped me. And another thing about really small cities is the culture. Granada has everything's within a walking distance. So like if you want to be by yourself, you can be by yourself. If you want to go to the club and have a good time, you can go to the club and have a good time. If you want to go for some coffee or tapas with some friends, all of that is accessible to sort of relieve yourself from whatever mental barriers you may be dealing with, or just to sort of change your environment. Because I know are days when you just want to sit and be and, not really be bothered with anyone. But I think it's best to sort of have that balance of both being and also going out and stepping outside your comfort zone.
Definitely. Balance is key. And with the journaling, I was just thinking, now you have this this document to look back on too. Not only was it helpful in reflecting and processing your time abroad, but looking at it in the past tense and being able to reflect on your experience is great too.
And that inspired me to scrapbook. I've never scrapbooked a day in my life, but like I have receipts from places that I've been. I have menus, like small menus from places that I've been and eaten. And yeah, like those moments in time that, you'll never be able to get back ever, but being able to look back at it in like a tangible form other than just like something written down. Like when I was in Amsterdam, I have a little sticker from the Bulldog hostel, and it just brings back each memory from every night in Amsterdam. So I think that's a really cool thing that people should do more often.
Great, thank you. I'd love to open up to any other tips or resources that any of you have about maintaining your physical and mental health abroad. I'd also love to open it up if any of our prospective students have questions. Feel free to add those in the chat or turn on your video. For those of you joining us to learn more, if you'd like to join our mailing list, feel free to use this QR code or email us with any follow-up questions. I'll open it up to this last question and we can stick around for discussion for a little bit longer as well.
Something that just came to my mind is that it's okay to do things by yourself as well when you're abroad. Like if there's some place that you really want to go to or somewhere in the city that you want to go see, like you don't have to find people to go with you. Odds are if you go to that place, you might end up finding people that have similar interests with you. And I think that kind of being comfortable doing things on your own is a really valuable thing to get while you're abroad. And I think that it just makes you more confident to be able to choose what you want to do and be comfortable to go by yourself to do those things.
That's a great tip. Thank you. Yes, I think we all, sort of wait for somebody to go with, but when you're studying abroad, you may not have that much time. So that's fantastic advice. Thank you.
I think also another little tip that it's just kind of good to know is while you're abroad, you're obviously going to be a completely different situation than you were before. And it's okay to form new habits, and it's kind of actually cool to form new habits. So, if your study abroad location, there's an option to go swimming all the time. I lived 2 minutes from a beach, I picked up swimming and I picked up yoga and things I wasn't doing in the US and didn't have access to and was doing over there. And then some of them carried over and then some of them didn't, but it was it's cool to kind of just let those things happen to you know, you don't have to try everything, you are abroad and you want to try everything, but try things that you think might interest you, or try things that might interest you and be healthy as well, and ways to take care of yourself, because you kind of forget that you need to take care of yourself while you're there, and you're yes, this experience is so amazing. And Alexis touched on earlier, you forget that you need to take the time to take care of your own mental health. And I think forming those good habits before you go in, while you're there, or just kind of thinking about maybe when you're in a stressful situation, what is what's your go-to? Do you need to journal right away, or do you need to go for a run, or think about what it is you need to do in advance, so when that moment comes where you're oh my gosh, I'm in a whole different country and I don't speak the language and everything is wild, that you have sort of that outlet and you're kind of prepared for that and a little bit.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, you had me thinking about any healthy habits that you all adopted from your time abroad that you still sort of follow. That's an interesting point. I know you mentioned earlier the slower pace and coffee breaks. I feel like I've definitely adopted that myself from time in Europe, but I'd love to hear any other examples that you all have like that.
I've got one.
Yeah.
It has to do with food. Most of what I
Yeah.
talk about has to do with food. But so I think it was Patrick who was saying that you grocery shop for the night rather than for the week, and you get really fresh things. It's the similar thing in Berlin that I noticed, and I have picked it up myself here. I find myself just buying for a couple of days, 2 days, 3 days, and then going back to the grocery store or the local market down the street here. We're lucky enough to have in Vermont. And it works much better for me, and I think it's healthier because you can buy fresh ingredients and you're actually going to use them, so you're saving money and doing all this stuff. But just like one other point relating to food is that the things that a city is known for might not always be the healthiest options. So like when you think of Germany, think of schnitzel and beer and like all this stuff, but there's actually like many other options that are healthier, and you just have to kind of do a little more digging. So like asking a local person or your RD or like something like that. And you can enjoy some of these like awesome traditional foods, but find new ones that you might not have ever thought of. So like when I was in Berlin, I didn't know what a persimmon was. It's this like orange fruit with these like really hard leaves on top. And it turns out they eat them all the time. During the winter, it's a winter fruit. So I discovered a new fruit and now it's one of my faves. So just things like that.
That's a great point. Yeah, it can be tempting to live off of pizza and gelato in Italy, but there are, you know, especially in Europe and I would say South America, Central America too, there are so many great fresh produce markets, and that is much more accessible for our students typically than in the US. Any other thoughts, tips that any of you would like to add? Any questions from our students attending? Feel free to share. Okay.